AOC.
Yeah, but first, I think we should have a moratorium on white dorks on Zoom calls.
Okay.
You know, we have Bastis and we have fan mail, and I just can't listen to those Nate Silvers and these Saliza people just bites into this glorious show. AOC. What? She's kind of fun in a silly but earnest, wrong but adorable way. She's like your daughter when she comes back from her first year at Brown, full of half-baked, half-opinions.
So there she was again, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, walking into the public arena with the confidence of someone who just discovered Wikipedia and decided to run the economy off the fun fact section. And just when you thought it couldn't get more absurd than her pretending to understand economics, along comes Greg Gutfeld with a rhetorical equivalent of a fly swatter and a smirk ready to clean up the sakers.
In need of some gentle, patient deprogramming. But people have to realize new faces doesn't mean new ideas. Drives me crazy. AOC has never introduced a fresh idea or issue in her life. The reason why she gets along with Bernie is because she's like an 80-year-old leftist in a used bookstore. I mean, she may look fresh, but she's as stale as an abandoned futon on the street. It's like, I listen to her, I go, I heard that at Berkeley in 1983.
It started like every classic AOC moment does, with camera, microphone, and absolutely no idea what she was talking about. She was on one of her usual crusades, this time explaining with the enthusiasm of a freshman who just read Dos Kapow how billionaires are evil, money is fake, and we can solve everything by screaming tax the rich louder than reality. But then came good Gutfeld, a man with the comedic timing of a roast master and the patience of someone who's had to listen to AOC explain interest rates like they're a social construct.
Yes, I pay people to wear handcuffs. But she did this. She knew the media would obey. Let's watch the tape. She'd be a great mime, like the Latina version of Marcel Marceau. In fact, here she is later in her jail cell. Of course, AOC was mocked on social media for imitating being handcuffed, which is a change from her usually being mocked for imitating a congresswoman.
Imagine AOC armed with a signature look of bewildered outrage, passionately arguing that jobs are a capitalist myth and that the economy should function like a group project everyone gets in it even if nobody does the work. Cue Gutfeld sipping metaphorical tea, watching this ideological pinata swing wildly at invisible enemies. And like any good satirist, he didn't need to argue, he just watched her unravel, giving off the same energy as someone trying to program a VCR using interpretive dance.
Meantime, AOC is taking a break from doing nothing to get into a beef with the Twitter chief. On Tuesday, she tweeted, LMAO at a billionaire earnestly trying to sell people on the idea that free speech is actually an $8 a month subscription plan. That's a reference to Musk's plan to charge people $8 a month for verified blue checkmark status. But he hit back tweeting, your feedback is appreciated, now pay $8.
And of course, she brought up the Green New Deal once more. Yes, the legislative fever dream in which cows are banned, airplanes are banned, and we all live in eco-friendly yurts powered by feelings. AOC pitching this plan for the 738th time is like watching someone try to sell a haunted blender. Confusing, a little scary, and mostly noise. Gutfeld, on the other hand, doesn't need to fight it. He just lets the math fail her because...
To be fair, she'd love to spend the $8, but she already bought a Tesla. He also tweeted a photo of some ugly AOC merch he's trying to hawk for $58. Overpriced merch, AOC. Seems pretty capitalistic of you, which according to you makes you evil. And according to anyone paying attention, also makes you full of...
Let's not forget the performance she put on while defending her economic ideas, because nothing says serious legislator like furiously gesturing while explaining how unlimited government spending is basically monopoly money with better fonts. Meanwhile, back on Earth inflation is acting like it's on a Red Bull bender and grocery prices are cosplaying as luxury items. But sure, let's double down on the economic wizardry as someone who thinks scarcity is a capitalist myth. At one point she floated the idea that jobs should be guaranteed by the government, because what could possibly go wrong with a bureaucratic hiring process slower than a tortoise and molasses pick to the DMV? But now it's your employer, and your lunch break is decided by a committee that only meets on alternating Wednesdays. Gutfeld, without so much as adjusting his tie, practically airlifted viewers straight out of the Fantasyland. AOC was selling no passport required. It was like watching someone rescue hostages from an escape. Room made entirely of vegan slogans, Marxist memes, and inspirational quotes from failed group projects. AOC had set the stage with her usual fever dream policy theater, but Gutfeld came in with the energy of a sarcastic paramedic. No panic, no yelling, just calmly escorting confused masses out of a burning building made of combustible talking points.
And the reason why they don't have any ideas is they operate on half opinions. Like, what if we get rid of cash bail? Oh, let's do it. What happens? You have repeat criminals wreaking havoc. What if we have sanctuary cities? Hey, let's do it. What happens? We have killers, finding sanctuary, safe haven. What if we give trans rights that we don't have? Well, you just ruined women's sports. You ruin safe spaces. You make kids' lives hell. But you don't think about, they never think about what their ideas incentivize. That would be nice. So where are their ideas going to come from? Trump.
Her economic proposals, they sounded like they were hashed out at kombucha-fueled scenes where the spirit of Karl Marx was channeled through a TikTok influencer. Let's print more money and everyone gets free stuff show, and while we're at it, let's declare gravity optional and see what happens to air travel. Gutfeld didn't even need a clever retort. He simply held up the mirror, let the absurdity breathe, and AOC's logic collapsed under its own artisan. Gluten-free weight her supporters suddenly. Quieter than a Whole Food during a power outage, not a peep, just stunned silence and the distant hum of a broken espresso machine. And then the grand climate panic segment made its usual appearance, a signature dance of doom like Al Gore's PowerPoint, but with more eyeliner and fewer facts. The Earth, according to AOC, is on life support, being nursed back to health by hashtags and reusable straws. 10 years left, she cried again in what's starting to sound less like science and more like a recurring dream she refuses to wake up from. At this point, even the guy who built the doomsday clock is probably begging her to hit snooze.
I love how she explains it. They're not meant for you, right? But then you have to ask, okay, then what is this debt forgiveness? Who is it meant for? And when you look at the data, it's upper, white, middle-class, liberal women. This ain't welfare, right? These are well-to-do people. It's a bribe for Democrats on the backs of plumbers, truckers, and everyone else who actually does a real job, unlike me. AOC is the symbol of the entitled sponge. She complains about student loans, but she owns a Tesla.
But Gutfeld unbothered. He just blinked slowly like a man who's heard this prophecy too many times at too many brunches hosted by people who own crystals and blame capitalism for their avocado going bad. He pointed out in that dry, devastating way of his that every time AOC makes a climate speech somewhere, a solar panel calls in sick from secondhand embarrassment. She's the only person who can talk about wind energy and somehow sound. Why did suggest nuclear power, and she recoils like you just insulted her kombucha starter. Then came the pièce de resistance, her solution to economic inequality. Not jobs, not innovation, nope, the vibe economy. Just crank up the money printers like it's Coachella for currency, hand out checks like Oprah on stimulants, and Voiler equity achieved. Even people who list manifesting as a job description were confused. Her economic vision is basically a Spotify playlist called Chill Marxist Beats to deconstruct capitalism too.
And worse, she owns a French bulldog. Thanks to Cat Samp, I know everything about French bulldogs. And one thing I know, they are so expensive. They're more expensive than any college tuition. You got to take care of them. They're adorable dog. But she owns a Tesla and she owns a French bulldog. And she wants you or your dad, the electrician, to forgive her student loan. That's BS. Turn in the Tesla, sell the dog. I'll buy it half price.